Hey guys, what's up? I'm Tony and this is Tony Teaches Tech. Today I'm going to walk you through the entire process of moving a website from one web host to another web host. Now this is, I'm not going to lie, a very complicated process. There's a lot of steps involved, but don't you worry, I'm going to walk you through each step of the process. And along the way, I'm going to explain it in a way that hopefully you can understand. Now, the big caveat with this is that you might have a different hosting provider. In fact, you're probably going to have a different hosting provider than I am, whether that's the origin hosting provider or the destination hosting provider. So that's going to be like logistically different for you, but like the concepts still apply, like the basic overall steps and some of the actual individual like procedures and like physically what we're doing in the steps is going to be the same. So in other words, just pay attention if you want to understand like what the process is of migrating a website, and maybe you can even like follow along when you're doing it on your own end, or maybe take some notes and then do it afterwards. But my goal with this video is to have you walk away by the end of the video with a really good solid understanding of how to transfer your website from one host to another, regardless of whatever the host is. So if that's something that you don't really have the time for, or you don't want to do by yourself and you want to have an expert do it, then I encourage you to come to like my website here, for example. Reach out to me on the contact page and send me a message, and I'm happy to help you out with your website transfer, because this is something that I'm experienced with and I've done plenty of times personally and for clients as well. So kind of like a shameless sales pitch there, but I am willing to work for you to transfer your website if that's something that you want me to do. Otherwise, pay attention to this video. It's going to have a wealth of information for website migration. So without any further ado, let's get into it. So yes, this is my website, and this is the website that we're going to be transferring today. Currently, this website is hosted with Kinsta. So this is the Kinsta dashboard, and you can see here, one of my websites is Tony Teaches Tech. So you can click in here and see that we got, all of our information here. So that's the origin website. The destination, or that's the origin hosting provider. The destination hosting provider is voltar. So here you can see that I have a couple websites with voltar, but none of the websites are Tony Teaches Tech. So the first thing I'm going to do, just to get started with this tutorial, is to set up the hosting for this website. So so I'm going to pick Chicago for my website. That's where the hosting data center is going to be. And I'm going to go here under application and say WordPress. And I'm going to pick the $5 a month plan, which gives me 25 gigs hard drive or SSD, 1 CPU core, 1 gigabyte of RAM, and 1 terabyte of bandwidth. I'm going to put in my SSH keys, which I recommend if your destination hosting provider is voltar. And if that's something you're interested in, I have plenty of other videos on voltar, how to set up WordPress on that hosting provider. So check them out here, I believe, or here. Okay, so hostname Tony Teaches.tech, and let's deploy that server. So that's going to take a minute or two to deploy, but that's okay. We'll go ahead into our existing WordPress website. We'll go into our dashboard and we'll add a new plugin. So let's click on add new, and we want to get the duplicator plugin. And this is going to enable us to actually download the entire website into a zip file and download it onto our computer and then upload it back to our new web host. So we got that installed and activated. So let's click on manage. And what you want to do in here, it's very simple, is to create a new package. And the default name's fine here. Click on next. It's going to scan your site. It's going to look at all your databases, your tables, your pictures, your posts, your pages, and it found everything. So we're going to build an archive. And this takes usually, a minute or so. So we're going to let that do its thing. Let's go check while it's building the package what's going on in voltar. So we have some progress here. We are installing our our hosting, and we got an IP address. So if we click in here, it says your server may still be finishing installing or booting up. That's okay. We have an IP address. So let's see if we can log in via SSH a while. Actually, let me just check. Never mind. We're not going to do that yet. This package has finished installing. So what you want to do is download the installer and download the archive. You can do that separately or click the one-click download here. Lucky for you guys, I already downloaded them. I got them right here. So I got the zip file and the installer, just so I don't want to waste any more time because I know this video is going to be long. So now we can go open the terminal window and we're going to log in. We're going to go back to Voltar and we're going to log into our website, so our new hosting provider. So this is going to be logging into Voltar via SSH. So we're going to copy this IP address and type in SSH root at the IP address. Now, this is the part of the tutorial where I know a lot of people might not have the experience with terminal command line or anything like that. I'm going to do my best to explain what we're doing, why we're doing it, and yeah, just don't be scared because I'm gonna walk you through the steps. So SSH is a program that you can log in remotely to remote servers. It exists on Mac and Linux. If you're on Windows, you're going to have to download something called PuTTY. That's Putty. So you download PuTTY and then you type in your username, which is root, your IP address, which is your destination IP address, and the password, which it's right here. You can copy it if you're using Voltar, or if you're on another hosting provider, you'll use those credentials. So hopefully that takes care of that. That explains that. So hit enter, and yes, we want to continue connecting. And because I did pre-install my SSH keys, as you saw a couple minutes ago, I didn't have to type in a password, but if I did, we all know it's right here. Okay, so the typical destination for, or I guess the typical location for a website is in var www.html. Okay, so if you go there and hit or type in ls for list, and I should mention here cd is change directory, so we're just typing cd to the place we want to go in ls. We can see all these WordPress files here, okay? And the cool thing is if we go to this IP address, we can actually see a fresh install of WordPress, which after we type in these little bit of extra credentials, because we're on Voltar. So this basically down here is just an extra layer of security if you want to get into the WordPress admin dashboard side of things. So here we go. This is a fresh WordPress install, like I said, but we're not actually going to install WordPress. We're going to upload WordPress. So let's go back to our terminal window. That was just for demonstration purposes. And what I want to do essentially is take everything out of this directory to leave room for our zip file and our installer file that we just downloaded from the duplicator plugin. So to do that, and just so we don't screw anything up, I'm going to back out a level. So cd ... means let's go up to the var www directory. And I'm going to make a temporary directory here with mkdir temp. And I'm basically just, for now, I'm going to move everything from the HTML directory, which is mv HTML, and then star means everything. Move everything from the HTML directory into the temp directory. Okay, so if we look at the HTML directory, there's nothing in here anymore. But we do, so if you go back here, and this is just like a little quirk that I found, if you go back to the website now, it's gonna give you this forbidden, error message, which is okay for now, but we have the WordPress website if we need to come back to it in that temp directory. So let's just keep that in mind. Now, we know where we want to upload the zip file and the installer file. We want them to come, sorry, I'm pointing and you can't see it. We want them to come into the var www HTML directory. So let's open a new tab here. Now this tab is on our local MacBook, okay? So let's go into our desktop and we should see the installer, right? The installer, which is right there, and something called 2020 April 10th. Yep, there it is. So there's our installer. So we want to copy them, and we can do that with secure copy. So it's basically like a fancy version of copy. So you can type in SCP, the name of the file that you want to copy. So let's start with the installer. And I am tab completing here. So I'm just typing, for example, scpins tab, and it's going to tab complete the rest of the file name. So we're going to copy this file to root at the IP address. So let's just type it in 149.28.125.250. This again will be different for you. Colon the full path to where we want it to end up. So it's var www html enter. And there you go. We can go back over to our other terminal tab, ls for list, and there we can see our installer. So we just uploaded that. Whoops. We just uploaded that to our web server, our new hosting provider. Let's do that same thing again, but this time with the zip file. So we can come back here, it's like 2020, tab complete, hit enter, and this one's going to take a little bit longer, a couple minutes or so. So we will let that do its thing. And in the meantime, let's go back to our new website host. Okay, this is the destination host. And just real quick here, the two biggest, I guess, the two most popular web servers are Apache and nginx. Okay, so Voltar uses nginx by default if you're going through the same process of, setting up a WordPress website on Voltar, kind of like we did today. So there are some configuration files that we're going to have to modify in order to allow our website to be hosted on Voltar. So let's go to the etc nginx directory, and that's nginx. Just look around here quick. So we have an SSL subdirectory, and we're going to be using this a little bit later. We have a server.certificate file and a server.key file. These ones are self-signed. They're not, Google Chrome doesn't like them. Google, they're not very secure. So we're going to replace them with our own SSL certificates, and that's going to give us a, HTTPS version of our website, just not HTTP, okay? What else do we got in here? We got a conf.d directory. So let's go into the conf.d directory. We have a couple of these WordPress configuration files. Okay, so the one that we're interested in is the secure one. So let's look at this one right here, WordPress HTTPS conf. Now, a way to edit files on Terminal or in Putty or whatever you're using is with Vim. It's not the only way, it's the way that I prefer. There's a couple hotkeys that I'm going to have to teach you to use it, but don't worry, like everything else in this tutorial, I'm going to teach you how to do everything from start to finish. So type in Vim for the editor. This is the name of the editor here. And we're going to type in WordPress HTML or WordPress HTTPS .conf. Hit enter. That's going to open this file, and in here we can use our arrow keys to move around, and we're just going to make a couple changes here. So let's just get rid of or actually we want our server name. So in order to use Vim, you have to enter insert mode, okay? And in order to enter insert mode, you have to just hit the I key on your keyboard. So you can see down here that we are now in insert mode, and we can make edits to this. So we can hit backspace and type in our host name, so our domain name. For me, it's going to be tonyteaches.tech, and then you want the www version as well, so www.tonyteaches.tech. Okay, so once we're happy with our edits, we can hit the escape key to leave insert mode. You can see insert mode is not there anymore. Shift : to bring up this little command prompt down here. Type in W for write, and that's going to save the file. And right after we save the file, let's quit, and then hit enter. This will write our changes and exit the Vim editor. So hit enter. There we go. So if we hit the up arrow key and we look at that file again by hitting enter, we can see that we have our server name now Tony Teaches Tech and www.tonyteachestech. Okay, so we can do the same thing, hit Shift : and Q. This time we don't want to write it, we can just quit, so quit. All right, let's check the progress of our upload here, and we got 55 seconds left. So, and maybe even a little bit quicker than that. So when that's done, we can go anticipate that being done. We can go into the var www HTML directory, do an ls here, and we can see that our file is here. It's not yet finished being copied, but we are ready almost to install our, I guess this is the point where we're going to be actually loading this installer into our web browser. So we got 16 seconds left, so let's go over to our web browser a while, and we're going to go to the IP address /installer.php. Hit enter, and this is what I was afraid of, but I'm happy that we made a backup of the WordPress installation directory, if you remember that, in the temp directory. This finished copying, so that's good. Keep that in mind, but let's back out a level here, and remember we have the temp directory here. There's something weird about, or I don't even know if it's weird, there's just, when you're using Voltar as your destination hosting provider, you want to make sure that you keep the, let's see, inside the temp directory there's a file, or a folder, I'm sorry, called xhprof. So let's move the xhprof directory back into the HTML directory. And I said move, not copy. So let's move that MV from the temp directory, this whole xhprof directory, into the HTML directory. So if we go back into the HTML directory, we should now have 3 different things here: the zip file, the installer file, and the xhprof file. So if we refresh this, yeah, it should work. So I'm just going to check here real quick. And yeah, so the other change that we're going to have to make is changing ownership of this xhprof directory recursively to www data. And let me just demonstrate that we need to do this. So in the duplicator plugin here, we're going to, actually, no, I'm not going to demonstrate it because it's just going to screw things up. So take my word for it. Do a change ownership, CHOWN -R for recursive, and then www-data :www-data, and we're going to apply that to the xhprof directory. So this is basically just going to change the ownership from root, to www data. So hit enter, and we'll do an ls-la again, and we'll see now that this directory is associated with the www data user and group. Okay, good. So let's refresh this just real quick, and everything looks good. We got to pass on the setup. We got to pass on the validation. I have read and accept all terms and notices. Hit next. It's going to extract the archive files, and we can actually see that happening if we hit ls in our terminal window. Got a whole bunch more files here. Very good. We're doing good here. So step 2 of 4, install the database. So we can connect to and remove all data in a database. Now, the other option is to create a new database, but the reason I said that I wanted to, or the reason I picked for Voltar to install a new WordPress website is because kind of for free you get that WordPress, database already set up for you. So let me show you what I mean by that. So in the installer here, it's asking us for a database host name, a name of a database user, and a database password. Well, typically you would have to set that up manually with MySQL or something, but what I'm saying is that in Voltar, by setting up WordPress, or by picking that we wanted to install WordPress pre-installed, we don't have to do that. We already have that information. So if you remember, back in the temp directory, we already had a WordPress installation in here. So if we look in here, inside a file called wp.config.php, and just scroll down here a little bit, we already have an existing WordPress an existing WordPress database. So we have a database name here, we have a database user, we have a database password, and a database host. So one by one, let's copy each one of these. So the database name is this. Okay. The database user is this. And the database password is this. And we can immediately know if that is going to hook up to our installer by testing it. So we can hit test database down here, and right away it comes back with a pass and a good. So we are good to go to the next step. And yep, so it's just basically saying that this database is going to be overwritten. We don't care about this because if you remember, this is just a fresh install of WordPress. So let's get out of that and hit OK. And we don't need to save the password for this. This is looking good. So the title of our website is Tony Teaches Tech, which it knows that from the installer. The URL, we want to change this to HTTPS, and then instead of the IP address, I highly recommend changing it to your actual destination website. So tonyteaches.tech. Otherwise, you're going to have a database potentially with IP addresses in it, and that's just a whole mess that we don't want to deal with. So highly recommend you type in the fully qualified URL with the HTTPS version of your website. Okay, hit next, and it's doing its thing, and it looks like it was a success. So this is the point where we are still running off of our IP address here. Okay, we didn't yet move the domain name, or we didn't point the domain name. Right now our domain name is pointed to our old hosting provider. We haven't yet pointed it to our new hosting provider. So if we try to log into the admin panel, it's actually going to take us to our old hosting provider. So a way that we can get around that is with the hosts file on Mac. So, and there's an equivalent host file on Windows too. So it's a very similar process what we're doing. So let me just explain. So in the terminal window that you're local to your computer, you want to type in sudo vim etc hosts. Okay. And type in your password. Sudo is like the super user. Go down to the bottom and hit I and N key and hit enter. Okay, so you're on a new line here down at the bottom. We basically want to take this IP address up here, type it in here. So 149, I'll explain it after this, .28.125.250. Hit tab and then type in the domain name. So it's tonyteaches.tech. And then we're going to do that one more time for 149.28.125.250 tab www.tonyteachestech. Okay, so this basically is mapping this IP address to this domain name. So we're gonna, let me just demonstrate you guys something. So before I save this file, because we didn't save it yet, let's open up a new tab, okay, and ping tonyteaches.tech. And this is saying that Tony Teaches Tech is running on this IP address, 146.148.59.197. Okay, we'll cancel this with Control-C, and I bet you $100 that this IP address will match up with the IP address in our Kinsta dashboard. Let's go to Kinsta, and there you go. So you'll get 146.148.59.197. Now, that makes sense because we didn't, like I said, we didn't change any of our DNS settings from our old hosting provider to our new hosting provider. So to get around that, that's why we're editing this host file. So instead of, going to that IP address when we type in tonyteaches.tech to our web browser, we want it to go to this IP address. So that's all this host file is doing. We're just kind of like bypassing that and going directly to the new hosting provider. So like we did before with Vim, hit the escape key, hit the shift : key, W for write, Q for quit, enter to save. So now if we go back over here to our ping tab in our terminal window, hit the up arrow key and ping Tony Teaches Tech again, we're now pinging the new hosting provider's IP address. So that's really cool. So hit Control C to stop that. And now we can finally finish this installation. I hope this works. I think it should immediately know that we made an update to our host file. So if you click on this admin login, it should take us to Serial Guru. Okay, this IP address up here is going to change to Serial Guru, but it should be the Serial Guru version of our website that's hosted on our new hosting provider. Okay, so let's try it out. And actually, this is a really good sign, okay? Even though it's like an error message and we actually can't get past this point, this means that, yes, we are getting the new, we are getting our website served from the new hosting provider because our SSL certificate is not secure and it's self-signed. So this is good news, but we want to set up our SSL certificate. So this is a good time to set up our SSL certificate. So let's just let's leave this window open. Let's get rid of this privacy error window. And let's take a pause from the whole moving the website over, and let's take care of the SSL certificate. Now, you could technically get the SSL certificate from the old hosting provider and move it over to the new hosting provider, and that's a very viable option, and I encourage you to do that if you have access to it. But for me, it was simpler, for the sake of this tutorial, to just generate a new SSL certificate. So what I use for my SSL certificates is Namecheap, and it allows you to renew your SSL certificate whenever you want to. So here I got my Namecheap dashboard, and this is my positive SSL certificate, I guess, dashboard for this domain name. And we can download it again, but it's I just think it's a better idea to reissue it, because you'll see here when we click on this reissue button and hit yes, it says here, to back me up, using existing CSR certificates for renewal of SSL may create a security threat, so we recommend you get a new CSR every time. So let's go ahead and do that. And it's just going to take us to this help page, and you don't really have to follow this. I'm just getting this one line of code here. So I'm going to copy this, which is going to basically generate a CSR for us, which is a certificate signing request. Close out of that. We don't need it anymore. And go to the terminal window on our local computer, paste that in, and hit enter. So from this point until a little bit from now is basically just for people who want to generate a new SSL certificate for their website. Again, it's not necessary, but if you want to do it, this is how you do it with Namecheap. So country code, US. State or province, Pennsylvania. Locality, I'm going to say Reading. Organization name, Tony Teaches Tech. And some of the stuff you could just hit enter. Common name, we want to fill that in. That's Tony Teaches.tech. Email, tony@tonyteaches.tech. Password, that's optional as well. And if you hit type in ls, you should see a server.csr and a server.key. So I'm going to make a temporary directory, or just a directory here, Tony Teaches Tech, and I'm going to move the server.csr into that file and move the server.key into that directory. Okay, so there we go. We're in that directory. Let's look at what does it want? The CSR. So let's look at the server.csr. We're going to take this block of code, copy, and paste it in here. It's going to check it, looks good, hit next. And this is the domain that we want to generate an SSL certificate for. And the server that we have is nginx, so that's fine. Hit next. We want to validate our domain via email. And I've never seen this before. It's grabbing email list. Okay, so admin@TonyTeachesTech is fine. That's a valid email for me. Hit next. And what? Your SSL certificate was sent to none. That's weird. Let's go back. Tony teaches tech. Did I type everything in fine? I just want to see if I typed in Tony, my email address, Tony, common name, Tony at Tony Teaches Tech. Yeah, I did. Okay, we're just going to go through with it. Next, admin, that's fine. Next, I think I can download it anyway from Namecheap. So hit submit, and we should expect to get an email at admin@TonyTeachesTech first. So when it's done doing its thing, we'll confirm that. And is there anything we can do in the meantime? I don't think so. It's going though. So the status is in progress. So it says check admin@TonyTeachesTech for validation email. So let's go over here, refresh our email inbox. And I have a feeling I'm gonna have to do this for a minute or two until that happens. So instead of making you guys wait, I'll fast forward the video, and I'll catch up with you guys when I get that email confirmation. All right, we got the email validation. So let's open this guy up. All you have to do is copy this code, this validation code, and where's the link? Click here and paste that in, hit next, and we enter the correct validation code. We can close the window. That's all we needed to validate that I'm actually an owner of that domain name. So I don't think we need this inbox anymore. So we'll close out of it. And if you go back to this page at Namecheap and refresh, we should see the ability to download the certificate, which we do. So let's download that certificate and drag it onto our desktop and put it right here. So let's extract everything and look inside here. So we got a CA bundle and a CRT file. So in order to, if you remember back from the beginning of the video, we looked inside the nginx directory at the SSL subdirectory, and we had two files in there. We had a server.crt file and a server.key file, I believe. But we have we have a bunch of files. So basically what we have to do next is combine these files into one in order for it to be in the format that nginx is expecting. So in order to do that, let's open up terminal again and make sure we're on our desktop here. And we can do that with cd, the little curl /desktop. That'll take us to our desktop. Then cd into Tony Teaches Tech, teaches_tech, which is this folder right here, ls. And what we want to do here is to concatenate our CRT file, which is tonyteachestech.crt, with the tonyteachestech.ca bundle file into a new file called server.crt. Okay. Now, let me just go back to our destination hosting provider. Remember, the reason we're at this point in the tutorial is because we need to get the SSL certificate installed on our website. So let's look at our website again. Let's go to the etc nginx directory, and there's a directory under here called SSL. Okay, so we have two files in here. We have our server.crt file and our server.key file. Okay, so let's take note of this timestamp, 145 and 145 for each one of these. What we want to do is copy our server.crt file that we just made on our desktop to here. So we can do that like we not just did, but like we did before with the zip file and the installer file. So we can do scp. The source file is server.crt, and the destination is root at, what's our IP address? It's here. Copy that and paste :/etc/nginx/SSL, and it's optional, but let's just type in server.crt. Hit enter, and we don't have to type the password, but you might have to. And if we go back over here to our destination hosting provider, do an ls-la again, we can see that the timestamp of this file has changed. So that means we successfully uploaded the server.crt. Okay, we also have to do the server.key file, so let's do that next. So that's in the, if you remember the other Tony Teaches Tech directory on our desktop, we have the server.key that we downloaded. So we can do the same thing. scp, source file is server.key, and the destination is basically this guy again. So we'll copy that, paste /server.key. Hit enter. Bam. Very quick. And we'll do an ls-la again, and we updated the timestamp again. So these both were once 145, and now they're 216 and 217. So that means we successfully uploaded them. Okay, so this is the point in the tutorial where if you wanted to skip that whole SSL section, then you can meet me back here. But I do think that if you don't follow this tutorial based on what I did in this section, you still have to upload your SSL certificate to your destination hosting provider or generate a new one, whatever you got to do. But here we go. Let's continue with the tutorial. Where we left off was here. Remember, if we clicked on admin login, we got to that error page because the SSL certificate wasn't trusted or whatever. Now that we have a trusted SSL certificate, this button should work and take us to the admin dashboard of Tony Teaches Tech for our new hosting provider. So let's do that. Click on admin login, and it did not do that. So sometimes here there's some caching issues. So let's try and see if that's the issue. So let's make this full page, full screen, and go to View Developer. If you're using Chrome, View Developer, Developer Tools, and under this, this might look different for you, but if you're in here, go to the Network tab and make sure Disabled Cache is selected. In a way to explicitly clear the cache for this website is to kind of click and hold on this refresh bar and empty cache and hard reload. And that still did not work. So what could be the issue? Let's look at the certificate. It's still pulling that old certificate. I'm going to try to open up a guest window and see if that helps. So I'm going to can I copy that? No, I can't. So let's click on that and copy this URL and open our guest window and try it in here. So that still didn't work. So what's going on here? Just a second while I try to figure this out. Maybe we have to restart the nginx server. Maybe. Yeah, we do. Okay, so let's, we never restarted the server after we made the changes to our nginx config file a while back. So let's do that now. So we can type in service nginx restart. And we got an error. So let's look at what our error is. And I think I had this error before. So let's copy this. And this is just saying how you can look at what the error was. And yeah, So if we expand this all the way, it says bad end line. And what that means is there's a problem with the format of the SSL certificate. So I like I said, I figured this out what this issue was before. If we look at our server.crt file, come down here, you can see that this one line right here has the end certificate and the begin certificate on one line. It doesn't like that, so let's split it up into two lines. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We want 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think they each want 5 on the left, 5 on the right. Hit enter and save. Okay. Now, I think let's restart the server again. And we shouldn't see an error this time. We don't, so that's good. Let's go back to our duplicator plugin and click on this admin login button again. And hopefully it works this time. Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. Yes. This is good. Sign in. Okay, let's get the credentials for this extra layer of security from voltar. So let's copy this username. That's there from another attempt at this. Copy the password. You might not have to do this if you're not using voltar. Sign in. We're good. Okay. So type in your username, type in your password for your old website, your old WordPress website, but just remember that this is now the new WordPress website. So go ahead and log in. We'll save those credentials, and this is very good. So we know we're on, just like because sometimes you don't know if you're on your old website or your new website, even though you edited the host file. We know we're on the new hosting provider, I meant to say. Sometimes you don't know if you're on your old hosting provider or your new hosting provider, just because, you know, you're just like maybe a little bit paranoid because they're exactly the same thing. They're exact copies of each other, but because the installer file cleaned up all of these files, this is the only place that file exists. So we know for sure. Basically, all I'm saying is we know for sure that we're on our new hosting provider. So let's click out of that. A couple things, just a couple cleanup things here is to go into our plugins. We can get rid of the duplicator plugin now, so we can deactivate that and delete it. And yeah, that looks good. Let's go to our dashboard and let's just preview it. So see if everything looks okay visually, and it does. So this is our website now, completely hosted on our new hosting provider. So that's really cool. The last final thing that we need to do is update our DNS settings. So we talked about this a little bit in this tutorial. Right now, our DNS settings, and let me actually just show you. In Kinsta, we have our DNS settings here for Tony Teaches Tech, and they are pointed to this IP address. We want the old IP address. We want to point it now to the new IP address. Okay, so I have my domain name for Tony Teaches Tech with Google Domains. Okay, so if I go into Google Domains, which I had up here, and find my domain here, Tony Teaches Tech, and go into the DNS settings. And again, this might look different for you depending on where you got your domain name, but the concept is still the same. You want to change the domain name and the name servers to be the new hosting provider. So because I was using Kinsta name servers before, I don't want to do that anymore because I'm going to move off of Kinsta. So I'm going to use Google domain name servers. So I'll change that, hit save, and then go down here to the bottom. And yeah, lucky for me, I already have a lot of the information in here from a previous life when my website was hosted with voltar. What I have to change in here is basically the A record from the old IP address to the new IP address. So the new IP address is this one in Chicago that we've been using the whole time. So let's edit that, change it to the new one, save. And the only other one we have to change in this, just change it. The www a record type from the old IP address to the new IP address. And you can see here up top that this can take up to 48 hours for the DNS changes to propagate. So it's usually much quicker than that, but you can just imagine slowly over time, over the next 48 hours, some people are going to hit your new website, some people are going to hit your old website. So there's a period of time where both websites are going to be live, but within 48 hours, you're safe to delete your old website. So we're not going to do that in this video, but just, test it over the next 24, 48 hours and see if you're getting your new website. So we can do that right away, actually. We want to first unedit our hosts file. So if you remember, we did that a while back in order to kind of go directly to our new hosting provider. So sudo vim etc hosts, type in your password, and we just want to get rid of these two lines. So a quick trick with Vim, if you want to get rid of a line, is hit DD. Hit DD again to get rid of the next line. And now we are no longer mapping our IP address or the new hosting provider's IP address to that domain name. So we can hit Shift:WQ, hit enter. Let's ping. We have that in here somewhere, I think. Yeah, ping Tony Teaches Tech, see which IP address we're getting, and we're getting the old IP address. So this is still, and if we let this ping go for the next 24 hours, at some point we'll see that switch over from, something .197 to the new IP address that ends in .250. So, yeah, I think that's about it. I think that's where I'll end the tutorial here. So, wow, that was a lot. If you guys have any questions, which I'm sure you do, definitely let me know in the comments below. I'll do my best to help you out as much as possible. I really, really hope this video was valuable. There's not too many of these videos out there that walks you through step by step from start to finish of moving your WordPress website from one hosting provider to the other. And like I said at the beginning, this concept is the same no matter what. Like, no matter what your hosting provider is, the logistical things that you do at each hosting provider will probably look different, but the concept still is the same. So yeah, guys, thank you for watching. Please give this video a thumbs up if you got some value out of it. I really appreciate it. And if you want to see more videos like this, as far as like WordPress website hosting in general, WordPress customization, search engine optimization, all that stuff, definitely subscribe to this channel because that's what it's all about. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you in the next one.